practice for TNGTC at the Circuit of the Americas. No one has gone out on track yet. And for today, I am joined by Gaz to fill in this 2.5 hours.
Wicked.
I'm sure it will be. We've only got 3 cars at the moment, but some will join. Some more will join, should I say.
I'm guessing you do have the camera.
Yes, I do have the cameras. And we finally have someone going out on track. That is Benji. So you'll have the good view of everything, because I have the cameras, but...
What, that timing's green?
yeah. So it'll be a week tonight that we start the first race of the season, which will be from Watkins Glen, that you can also find on our YouTube channel at 8 PM UK time next week. And we're certainly looking forward to it with a lot of new cars, a lot of new faces, and a lot of new driver pairings. So guys, you raced around here in Season 6, what did you think of the track? It seemed a very love-hate for the drivers.
I can't remember, you know. You'll have to refresh my memory.
That was the race right after the big update when the McLaren got hit quite hard.
It was really much better until they brought that patch out.
Yeah, that changed the game around a lot.
Do like this track though. Really, and I just like the flow of it. Got a bit of a mix of everything.
Yeah, it was one that I personally liked a lot to drive and to race, but it seemed a lot of people came out of it saying it was a boring track, didn't provide good racing, or... But both races for me personally were very exciting. And we've had a couple of livery changes. Benji is in his 28 livery that he was in last season. Ben has made a late change. He's now left Dean and gone back to Nathan, his Season 6 teammate. And they're back in the Porsche, but they are running the Falcon liveries. So that'll be an interesting choice for them. Of course, with Ben leaving Dean, Dean is now going with Ben's old teammate Rob. So it's a bit of a merry-go-round. Ben's been with almost everyone on this grid, and he's driven nearly every car. Finally, Adam, who is now going to be rocking the #1 Audi Endurance livery, one of my personal favourite liveries for that car. Probably the one I would have ran if we were allowed the endurance cars in Season 6.
Do like that one.
So we'll just go on board with Adam and go round for a lap. Of course, this track was one of those tracks that's taken inspiration from lots of different tracks. E.g. this is like the Maggot's Chapel section from Silverstone, as Benji is off the track there. As it looks like Adam is just chilling this lap, not really pushing.
It'll be pretty interesting, really. Audi, a lot of curves.
Yep, the Audi notoriously bad over the curbs. Should suit people driving the bigger, heavier cars. Of course, you are hitting a lot of those curbs through this track, like the last sector, the S section. And of course, there's this big straight. So like you said earlier, it is a very... It's got a lot of different types of flow to this track. You've got very fast bits, very tight bits, long straights. As he goes in a tad deep to that corner.
First lap, so...
A lot of drivers won't have driven this track from Season 6, so probably a good few months that they won't have been round here, and with the game changing a lot, it'll feel very different to them. Of course, when we raced here in Season 6, hard tyres were the one to be on back then. During that point where they made the soft tyres very undrivable.
You switched to the M6, was it, for that race?
Yeah, that was the race I jumped in the M6. Which turned out to be a good choice, as a lot of people jump out of the McLaren following that race. So Adam set his first time. Who will be next to set a time? It'll be Ben. Who, as of Season 7, went another winless season and hasn't won since Season 4. I'm sure if he can stick with the Porsche, as he gets a big slide on there, he'll want to stick with the Porsche for the entire season, get no qualifying bans, and hope to finally win a race after such a long time. As he was 1.2 off of Adam.
Season 4, you say?
Yeah, Season 4 Spa, I believe. As he drifts around and properly loses it into the barrier there. Now that leaves just Benji out on track, so he comes round a sort of reverse turn 8 from Turkey. But yeah, Ben constantly changing cars, plagued with qualifying bans and starting from the back. Never really helped his own chances.
No. Usually helps starting at the front.
Yeah, he made a few good recovery drives last season. He got onto the podium at Bathurst from the back.
Yeah, that was a pretty decent drive.
Of course, that track majorly suited his car. I cannot remember what he was driving at that point. I think it was the Lamborghini. As now after spinning, Benji looks like he's properly attacking the track. Of course, he'll want to make up for his Season 6 races round here, which was definitely one to forget for him. Especially after losing a podium after spinning twice on the last lap of the sprint race.
That sprint race was mad.
Yeah. I don't even remember where you finished.
I don't even know, I was having half spins everywhere that race. McLaren was just ruined after the patch. Shame really, because it was a really nice car to drive.
Yeah, I always found it a bit too understeery for my liking, but it was a quick car. Of course, a lot of people fled to the Audi, the Ferrari, the Lamborghini, the Renault, etc. after the Circuit of the Americas race, because everyone was granted one free car change because of how much the balance of play had changed, and like most people, you went along with that. I believe you went into the Ferrari.
Yeah.
And of course, another later season change, as we were all granted one additional car change for later in the season. You then switched to the Audi, so you'd had a fair taste of all the cars after that season.
Yeah, that was...
After 4 seasons of 3 seasons even of sticking to one car, everyone changing around so much was a bit of a shock. Benji's finally going to set. Benji finally sets a time and he was 1.1 quicker than Adam. Adam didn't really look like he was fully attacking his lap. And now Benji's backed off, but Ben has come out of the pits. We'll see if he's fixed his oversteer. He quite clearly had.
Okay, wait.
Adam has also come out onto the track while we weren't looking. I'll watch Ben as he's just a couple of corners away from starting another lap, see if he's fixed that car at all. Because him and his new and also former teammate Nathan were very competitive in it towards the end of Season 6. Nathan was probably the best of the rest behind you and Oz.
Yeah. Can't really get on with this Porsche after trying it yesterday.
I've tried it a few times and found it's quite a handful. I had a lot of oversteer in it.
I know it wasn't. Yeah, it's. Gears are so. Oh, the rev range is so long. Okay, that's.
So is that lagging for you as well?
Yeah, just a bit.
We'll go on board with Adam then. Whose car is behaving a bit more normal. But we'll try and keep an eye on Ben's time.
Love this section now. Left, right, left, right. Yeah,
and then it all slows down into another left, right, left, which then leads you down towards the back straight. This was a very fun section to drive in the BMW.
I bet.
It was great over the curves, but it was a very heavy car to try and chuck around. As Adam's backed out of that for some reason. I'll go back with Ben, whose car now seems to be adhering to the laws of physics. Very hesitant through that corner, had to actually brake through the middle of it. As it goes 6/10 behind Benji, that's a big improvement from where it was. Although it still looked like it wasn't quite probably where he wanted it to be. So we have a few things we could talk about today. We have a whole list, and we're going to just go through some of them. First off, I think we'll start with all of the tracks, which I will try and find a list of, as they have gone through some changes. Some races have been moved around, some tracks have been changed. As I believe it should be somewhere on our website.
The playlist is on the Facebook page, is it not?
I will just check that. So that was one thing, one piece of information I was not sent. I'll try and find all of that, and we can just go through some of the tracks and what cars should suit them. As Adam's gone off, Benji's back out as well. At least we're seeing some action from the 3 cars we have.
Good job, really, isn't it?
Yeah, at least they're actually giving us something to look at and not just staying in. as I fear Ben may have heard me, as he has just sent me the track list, so thank you, Ben. So, as I said, we start the season off in a week with a 5-race stint before our break, which is... We start off in America with Watkins Glen, Circuit of the Americas, as we're at tonight, Long Beach, Spa, and Sugo. So 5 very different tracks to start the season with. And I can tell you straight away, whoever's in the M6 is not going to like Sugo, but the rest of the tracks, I'm not quite sure. You have driven more cars, so you probably could say more about that than me.
Well, I believe I was in the Ferrari Sugo, wasn't I? Anyway?
Yeah, you were in the Ferrari in Season 6.
It was so long ago, and all the patches, it's probably...
The playing order will probably have changed around since then. Sugo was a very unpopular track with the drivers in Season 6, so when one of our drivers picked it for this season, we suspected a bit of a witch hunt. But Watkins Glen, that's a very front-end dependent track along with power as well.
Much better on this game than the first.
Yeah, of course, the first Project Cars, all the curbs around the corners were raised, so they were almost like actual pavement curbs. But now you have flat curbs that you can actually ride and not worry that your car's going to get thrown up in the air. Now we go from Watkins Glen and Kota, two very big, normal racetracks, to Long Beach, of course, a tight little street circuit, which didn't provide much overtaking in Season 6, but still provided very interesting races. The strategy became the big point.
Try to forget, if I'm honest.
Yeah, that was right after another update, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Of course, it decided to put a lot of the drivers on hard tyres rather than softs. Then after the break, we have 5 more tracks with Bathurst, Monza, Zhuhai, Silverstone and Brands. So you look at that instantly and think there's 3 very fast tracks there. Maybe even 4 if you want to count Zhuhai as a fast track. But Bathurst, Monza and Silverstone definitely high-speed tracks.
Yeah. Well, Bathurst is...
Of course, the hill section of Bathurst isn't very quick. But
them straights.
Yeah, you have a lot of long straights.
That M6 was like on another level doing.
Oh yeah, the M6 was a very, very good car in there. Not so much in my hands, I couldn't get it to work, along with a couple of crashes last season. But then for the 3rd stint of the season, after our 2nd break, we go back to America with Daytona and Laguna Seca. And back into Europe for Donington National, Red Bull Ring, and our season-ending 2-hour endurance around the Le Mans circuit. So a good mixture of tracks in towards the end of the season there. Of course, these tracks were all... Each driver was given 1 pick of a track. And then that was all just put into a calendar because there was complaints that the tracks weren't providing overtaking, they weren't providing exciting enough races, so we thought we'd leave it to the drivers, they can all pick tracks, and hopefully it's a better calendar, which is what has happened with this one, as there's a large variation in tracks, as Ben spins off in the background there.
Had to change a track apart from Sugo, because I know that's what you're going to say.
If I had to take a track out and replace it apart from Sugo, ooh,
I know everyone would pick Sugo.
Yeah, a lot of.
Unless your name's Jonathan.
Yeah, unless your name's Jonathan, who that was his choice. We have had Paul Scott pick us, He, of course, was going to be in the Mercedes, didn't like it. Did test out the Lambo for a while, but him and Jamie, his teammate, have now decided to go for the Ferrari, which will be an interesting choice, as I believe they are the... Are they the only team in it, or is there another team? I'm not entirely sure.
I couldn't tell you, to be honest. There's been so many people changing, like, last minute.
I think if I had to take a track out and put one in, I would take Watkins Glen out and then put Emilat in. I just don't like Watkins Glen. What would be your choice?
I don't know, because I like them all, to be honest. To be fair, I'd probably take out Le Mans, put in Nordschleife.
As Jonathan is watching us, as he messages me saying, I love Sugo, Liam. That's good, Jonathan, because no one else does. Sorry, what would you replace Le Mans with?
Nordschleife.
Oh. Again, another love-hate track for the drivers. One I don't really have fond memories of.
Yeah, it's kind of a love-hate track.
Of course, the also big problem with Nordschleife is you get damaged towards the start of a lap, you're going to lose a hell of a lot of time having to crawl around for what is like a 7-8 minute lap with damage. Or your car gets pulled into the floor and does 400 mile an hour backwards. Seeks, I don't care how much you tell me to love Sugo, I hate that track with a passion.
Drop us 20 Seeks and I'll love the track.
I'm sure Gaz will leave his PayPal in the description for you. As Adam's car is...
What's going on?
It says he has no fuel, but has he blue screened? Or well, either way, something is up with Adam, so we'll watch Ben instead.
Oh, he's gone.
Yeah, Adam must have had some sort of connection issue there. As while we were talking, Benji has improved, now stretches advantage over Ben from 6 to almost 9 tenths. So something that is on our website that wasn't touched for ages, but we finally got round to doing, courtesy of Benji, was the TNGTC Hall of Fame, which takes all of our previous drivers, puts all their points, podiums, wins, everything together. So we'll just go through some of them for you. No, I've clicked on the points thread, that's not what I wanted. Although if you all go see our points tables, it will be on our website. Our Hall of Fame, that's what we want. So it is sorted in points order, and surprise surprise, at the top is you. Which we shouldn't be surprised about, but then when you look at some of the stats, it kind of is. You have 46 wins compared to Ben in second place with 12, but of course Adam Morris has the second most wins with 27. But as your usual suspect, you suspect are in the top drivers who've been in for pretty much all the seasons and have stuck around for the whole time, so you're in first on it, Ben's in second, Adam's in third, I'm in fourth, and Benji is in fifth. There's some notable drivers further down as well. Oz is down there with 12 wins, Nick's down there with 8, Adele is there with 9, Andrew with 17. Andrew is still in 6th in that table, and he hasn't properly raced since season 4, I believe. He's just popped in and out.
How'd you do? What was the wins again?
You have had 46, and then the top 5, Ben's had 12, Adam has had 27, I've had 11, and Benji had 6. It's even the same on Podiums, you've had 114, Ben's had 73, Adam's had 71, I've had 67, and Benji has had 70. So in pretty much all the stats, you are kind of winning.
Oh, I've never really looked at it, to be honest. It's mad though when you work it out.
Yeah, that must have taken Benji some hell of an effort. Of course, we've got everyone's best championship positions as well. So Ben, who we were watching with, was the Season 2 champion. Which makes it kind of even more surprising he hasn't won a race in quite a long time. Benji, his best position was... let's say here, 3rd once. You've won it 5 times, yeah, show off. Adam has come 2nd once, and I've come 2nd once. These may not be correct, but these are what I've been given. So no one, like, abuse me. As we had a comment on the live stream, we'll see what that is. That's probably from someone telling us that Suko is like the best track ever, or something like that. As we've now also had Nathan join us, Ben's teammate. I don't know how Ben can put up with him for so long. As also, Ben has gone quickest, 2/10 ahead of Benji. As Benji has told us you cannot touch any curbs round here. I didn't think you could anyway in an Audi, but yeah, I remember the curbs round here were quite bad. So I'm going to look, see if we can find what the pole time was here in Season 6. Because that would be quite interesting to compare what the drivers are doing now and what we were doing 2 seasons ago.
Massively quicker, I reckon.
It's very likely, but if you want to compare, as I will get that up and see what it says. Back when Frank used to commentate, but of course now he will be a full-time driver this season with Seeks at the Wooden Spoon Racing team, who of course took wins last season. They got 2 wins from a team that was just sort of a self-confessed joke team, kind of like HRT. But in Season 5, the pole position from Oz was a 2-minute 4.5. If you want to know how bad it went for you, you did a 2-minute 12.
I don't want to know.
Yeah, I remember that session. You didn't even get a proper lap in. You qualified 11th with a 2-minute 12. It didn't go great for you.
I think it was like that row.
Yeah, you were last of all that qualified. It wasn't a good race for you. And of course, we have both the people who've just joined us out on track, Nathan and Paul. Are either of them on a lap time? No. Or I don't think so anyway, according to this. Of course, Nathan being Nathan, he will have gone in and probably asked Ben for his setup.
Sounds familiar.
Ah, you're funny. So another thing we have said we can talk about is, who was your surprise of Season 7?
Surprises in what way?
Did better than you expected, I guess. Like, who got the results that made you go, wow? We'll do that and then we'll do another type of surprise in a moment.
Oh, I bet.
Sure. But who was your surprise driver of the season?
tough on that, really.
I think there's
mean, I've had
two main
quite a
candidates
lot.
floating around in my head.
I would say Paul's probably...
So you either have to look at Paul, who we're on board with now, or, of course, Jonathan, who took his first win of the season and established
Yeah.
himself as a sort of top-ish midfield runner.
In the wet as well.
Yeah, his first win in the wet as well, around Nürburgring in the sprint race. Took the pole as well and then won it. But I think it would be between them two. Of course, Paul, he really sort of came to everyone's forefront when he took that 4th place in the feature race around Brands Hatch. As he won't be getting 4th place if he does much more of that. As Nathan then goes past him, we'll stick on board with him. So, apart from surprise driver, what was your surprise moment of the season?
Oh god. Where's my moment? I can't think of a few.
Start throwing some out there and we'll try and narrow it down.
God. Oh, mine's gone back now. I can't remember the one that I was thinking.
It's always good. Of course, again, like mentioned, you have to think of Zeke's win and then also Jamie's win that he took at Bugatti. As Benji just improves to then go another 2.5 tenths ahead of Ben. As Nathan struggles as he touches that curb, but completely gets the car sideways. Now Paul Scott's back on it after spinning last lap, so we'll stick with him. Oh, his car doesn't look fun to drive. As he goes to the left of the straight. Not sure why, but... we have all... we're about to have all 5 on track as Nathan is rolling down the pit lane as we speak. Oh, as he gets another slide on. And another one, and he's almost round. As Adam is now going quickest, as we have not noticed, or have only noticed now. 2 minute 5.9. Like Adam, Benji and Ben are sort of swapping times right just now. Adam's going even quicker in the first, about half a tenth up. But it looks like he lost a little bit of momentum riding that curb over there. Oh, he's completely given up on that one. The type of parking there from Adam that you expect on a driving test.
start getting into these jokes.
Speaking of jokes, let's cut to Nathan. He's gonna love me for that one, but he probably won't see it. I'm sure someone will probably tell him. I've just realised Nathan is driving car number 44. This doesn't make me happy. I feel like nobody should be allowed number 44.
No, really.
No. Well, apart from you, because apparently it was your number last season, but we'll skip over that. But on that subject, Ben actually said we should discuss the trophies. So you are the only person as of so far to have received one. You have 2, I believe. Soon to be 4.
Well, you know, racking them up.
So, how do you feel? Have the trophies gotten better from your season 6 to 7-1?
Very similar.
They're very similar.
Yeah.
Of course, you're the only driver so far to have received any. I will get mine, I don't know when. But, apparently they're very fancy trophies, I haven't seen them, and apparently the trophies for Season 8 are very, very nice.
It gives you something to, I guess, extra motivation, doesn't it?
It's always a bit nicer than just saying, oh, I won this title, but you have nothing to show for it. At least it's a little something to show for it. But the driver we're on board with now, Benji, he has had a trophy, the Next Gen Racing Race of Winners Championship. He won that and has a... I saw it the other day, it's a very nice looking trophy, if I must say, so I'm going to set my expectations at that trophy. So anything here on, I'm sure, is just going to be disappointment, but no, I did many leagues throughout F1 and Project Cars 1 and whatever, and never won any physical items or whatever for winning anything, so it's always nice to get something for it.
Yeah, 'cause usually you have to win.
I was better in F1 than I was on this game. Do you even know that? Because I could beat you in that game. I can't beat you on this one.
I'll just let you in, that's why.
Oh, and like half the grid as well.
Well, I don't know about half.
And as we were speaking, Paul's teammate Jamie has joined. I'm sure he will load into the lobby any second. So segueing into another subject, who do you think will be having the Season 8 trophies? Apart from the one you already supposedly have.
That's a tough one, really. I mean...
The driver on board with is one of the ones being touted.
Well, you know, I think it could be between quite a few drivers, really. Because I think some cars are going to suit some tracks more than others, and you know, it's all going to be about consistency at the end of the day, which is what it comes down to.
Adam's been very consistent as he's 2.5 tenths up through the middle, but of course these two are probably the favourites for the team's title, you'd expect, having finished second in the last 2 seasons, I believe. Only missing out on last season's title by 3 points. Which I'm not sure how much they cared about it or whether it was a target or not, but if they did care, I'm sure 3 points would have been a bit of a better result.
Yeah. Not many fastest laps, 3 races.
Does Adam keep his momentum to improve further? He gained another 10th in the last sector to set a 2:05.6. Now just a second off of the season 6 pole time.
I'm pretty surprised we're not actually already ahead of that, to be honest.
Yeah, of course, we're using the soft tyres now, and we were using the hards back then.
I guess it is quite aggressive, isn't it? Which is quite high speeds in these turns.
Yeah, I can imagine they're probably having some tyre issues. And there's Jamie, as I mentioned, he's... Well, no, even Paul's on high fuel. Jamie is the only one at the moment on low fuel. So we'll see where he can slot himself in with effectively qualifying fuel. So you were discussing earlier that you think the Ferrari might be one of the best cars to have gone in just now.
It felt pretty sweet. Getting back in it. I ain't gonna lie, it felt pretty much like what the McLaren used to. And it's turboed, is it, as well?
I'm not entirely sure if it's NA or some sort of charged. But I would imagine it's probably turbocharged. In fact, I believe it is, because it was very good at the altitude tracks last season. It was touted to be one of the best cars at Bathurst. But, you know, not in Jonathan's hands. He wasn't a race winner by then, so I can say that.
It just feels pretty balanced.
It was a car I could never get on with, but a lot of people seem to be doing very well in it. He somehow nearly loses it there.
It's a tough corner, that one.
Yeah, it always was. It was very easy to go a bit deep into, and you try and still turn to commit to the corner, and the back end would just be instantly round. But back to who we think going to win it. Of course, you have to now consider in Ben and, well, if he gets enough practice in, Nathan, as they should be starting from the front every race. Dean, if he can stop spinning it. He just needs to find that bit of consistency, and he should be in with a shout.
Okay, pick one then. Your big list.
I feel like it's going to be between one of the Snake Unite drivers, and I'm going to have stopped sitting on the fence and say... I'm going to have to say Adam.
Okay.
I've probably cursed him, but my name's not Ben, so whoever I pick shouldn't get cursed.
I'm gonna say NG.
Oh, diversity. As Jamie, I don't know whether it was a scruffy lap or not, but it's gone 4 seconds off on the quali pace. As he's sliding through there. Paul, his teammate, is 6.6 off at the moment.
That's pretty on the stereo there.
Yeah, it does look like the front end just isn't quite there. Of course, that is sort of sometimes a problem with mid or rear-engined cars. There's not enough weight over the front end, so you generally have to set the setup up to just stop all the understeer. On the cut on board with Nathan as he just improves to 2.1 seconds off. Of course, with some time, he should be right up with his front lot. As Adam's just gone even quicker, by only a couple of hundredths though.
Still on race fuel though?
Yeah, I believe so. Everybody is on race fuel. Apart from Jamie, who's on 20 litres. Oh, and Adam's off. Of course, that is the joy of a practice session. Everyone's pushing to find the limits.
I'm interested to see where this gets down the straight compared to some
He's going to get 157. And we can compare that to Paul. We'll stay on board with Benji for the rest of his lap until Paul gets to the straight. We'll try and compare the Audi, the Porsche and the Ferrari in terms of straight line speed. Benji should be finishing his lap just as the time Paul gets down towards the straight.
So cautious.
Yeah, it felt like when we were driving it, it felt like you just sort of threw the car into the corner and just hoped it sticked. Does Benji improve at all and get closer to Adam? He does. Goes within 2.5 tenths. So Paul is on the straight. We'll see what he can do compared to the Audi. Of course, they will probably all have different aeros and certain settings, but he gets to 159. Of course, now Ben is coming onto the straight. Of course, that Porsche revs incredibly high, up to 9,000 RPM.
Holy shit.
He gets to 161.
Misses the corner.
Yep, so we should probably correct it to about 160. So Paul will be hoping to find a big chunk of time. 6 point... He won't if he does that. 6.7 seconds off is not what he'll be wanting at this stage. And he does to 5.4, and having watched his parts of his lap, you'd say there's probably a lot more to be found in there. Jamie looks like he's now gone out in 30 litres. As Ben's coming up to start another lap. So he finishes that one 8 tenths off, so we'll see if we can do this one. As Ben's car is beating the laws of physics again, so we'll just leave that. Adam's coming to finish a lap. Of course, if you see the drivers going off the track, in inverted commas around here, the white lines aren't necessarily what we typically use as the track limits. It can be varied from corner to... well, some corners can have special allowances, and generally the rule is 2 wheels must remain on the kerb. And if drivers ever see another driver that they feel is breaking these rules, we have our steward's office where drivers can report other drivers for what they believe they have done wrong, as Adam pulls up again and decides to stack it. Okay. Anyway, as Edu has now joined us. Of course, he was a newcomer in Season 6, joined partway through the season. He was a member of the NGR versus TNGTC event race and was very quick then, but hasn't quite replicated it here. But we think he's going to put more effort into this season and hopefully show it with some stronger results.
He didn't do too many races, did he?
I think he joined a couple of rounds in towards last season. He was definitely there at Bathurst, and that was quite early on. I think that was the 4th event, wasn't it? Or something like that. Of course, he had a lot of commitments in next gen that he sort of always had to spread around, so never found too much time for practice for this league, but I believe he's going to cut some of them back and put a bit more effort into this one.
It's about 4 events.
Yeah.
You did.
Of course, last season was a very short season where we only had 10 events and 19 rounds, compared to some seasons where our rounds are into the 40s. But this season seems to be the perfect length, as once we did last season, a lot of drivers are saying, okay, maybe this is a bit too short, so we have 5 more rounds than last season, which should take us to 15 events and 29 rounds.
Alright, I'd say.
It's in between what we had now and before. James is going to cross the line to go 9/10 quicker. Initially, it looks like these two are struggling in their Ferrari. Paul's 5.4 off on race pace. Sort of sprint race fuel. And of course, Edu has now joined us, who is...
in the Bentley.
Can't really get a good angle, but he's in the Bentley for this season. A car I've only briefly seen in TNGTC with Jamie driving it for a short while. That was... Who was that? That was season 6, I believe. No, 5, I think. Because we didn't do Long Beach last season, as far as I'm aware. So who's all out on track? Adam's
first.
Adam's on and out lap. Is Benji on a lap? No, they're both just starting laps. Zidu is left, so he's clearly not happy with something that he will try and fix and presumably come back for. Yep, and he's back there straight away. As there's 2 cars very close on the track there. That is Ben and Jamie. Jamie, who is now, looks like he switched to 20 litres again. What will he do in the slipstream of Ben? Dropping off a lot is the answer. Unless he's running in a lean mode or ridiculous aero, because he only got to 150 there. Benji looked like he was down on his time there. Adam Petts. We are expecting more drivers to keep appearing throughout this session, so hopefully we will have more cars to bring to you. As will Benji find any lost time in the last sector. Yeah, he finds a 10th and a half, and then goes about the same behind Adam, a tenth and a half. So of course these two were very evenly matched through their time as teammates. More recently, Adam having a slight upper hand, but they're very, very close as we look now. They're starting to sort of leave Ben behind, who will be hoping that he can start to crawl that gap back. Or else, for all we know, he could be in his 4th different car before the season even starts and Benji loses it out of there. And Seeks joined, the man with horrible taste in tracks. This is Jamie going again on quali fuel. He'd really be hoping for a big improvement just now. During fuel corrected, he'll be more than 3.1 off. He's got 3 tenths there. He lost 2 tenths in the last sector on his previous lap, so there's definitely time to find for him around this part of the track. As it just looks like it will not turn. Seeing a lot of understeer from these Ferraris. As Jamie did find time. He's gone to now 2.3 behind, so he found 8 tenths on that lap.
Still disappointing, really, isn't it?
As Edu is finally rolling out of the pits. He has all of the assists on.
Oh, the sound of this car.
It is one of the nicer sounding cars, I would say. Also one of the best looking, but I don't think I've ever properly driven the Bentley across either game. Of course, you drove it in Season 2 and probably turned out to be a bad choice for you, as your form kind of dipped after going in that, out of the BMW.
Yeah, I had a lot of issues.
Of course, it was untouchable around altitude tracks, but when we were at sea level, a lot of flaws started to be exposed to that Bentley.
Shame, really, because it's like it. What's going on here?
So Seeks has joined us. He is in his Audi R8 that he has switched to for this season with Frank. So Wooden Spoon Racing, of course, Super Scrubs seem to have left the league. Of course, he started last season and won in the first event, winning the sprint race around Zolder. Nearly won the sprint race around Spa, and then sort of faded in and out of the league and hasn't returned for Season 8. It was a real shame, as he and Seeks were starting to build up a sort of partnership, and of course they both turned into race winners this season, or last season even. Now Seeks will feel like with Frank, he can be the lead driver of the team.
Did you feel like the lead driver?
Of course.
No, you know.
I did in Season 2, we'll go with that. We weren't together in season 2, so that's fine. I was with Lance and I won 4 races to his none, so I have a strong claim to say I was lead driver. I need to have been it once at my point in TNGTC. Considering all but one of my seasons were with you, I don't think I was going to be lead driver in any other.
He could have been.
My only shout was whichever season I came second. I can't remember, was that 4 or 5? I think it was 5. I feel really bad that I can't remember which season it was I came second.
Not many there.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it, but of course, since you roped me into this league, I've been here 2.5 years, so you were in it for near enough 3. You don't realise it, but it's a very long time you spend driving some virtual cars around a virtual racetrack.
Yeah.
Of course, putting in a couple of hours of practice each week, you think you probably could have done a lot better things with that time.
Bit more than a couple, I'd say, but a couple of nights.
Maybe for you, I sort of stopped around season 6. Sort of stopped trying as Sergeant Bassett has now joined another driver. He was around in season 1, I believe, was he not?
Yeah, I believe it was season 1.
Yeah, he was around in season 1. Had left before I joined and then came back for a couple of races in season 3, I believe. Then never reappeared, but of course he's back again. I will be hoping for a good enough form to try and convince him to stay this time. As Jamie must definitely have been cruising the other time, so he's just hit 157 at the end of this straight. He's 2 tenths up this time, but of course now that Nathan has improved to 8 tenths off, he's got a lot of chipping away at that to do before he can find another position in the timing sheets. As Edu, who hasn't set a time, is out on track, but Seeks is not, so we will await him coming out on track to see what he can do in the Audi, which of course starts the season off as one of the best cars. And I'm sure Adam and Benji will be giving him some sort of help. As will Jimmy clear that couple of tenths over the line, yet to 3 tenths improvement, so he's now just the 2 seconds off. As Edu, who is also on quality fuel, so this will be a bit of a benchmark. Come around the last corner. Of course, this is Edu's real sort of first laps in the Bentley. He goes a lot off. He must have had some sort of issue around that lap.
That's like his first lap.
Yeah, he must have made some sort of error or was just chilling a lot. Of course, the Bentley is one of those big, heavy cars that will be able to ride curbs very well. As it looks like he has not a lot of grip as he's chucking it through those corners. The car's more sort of sliding through them than going through them. But he's 7.3 up, so already that should put him ahead of Paul as he gets a big slide on there. Sergeant Bassett is joined. I'm not entirely sure what car he is in. He is in a Ferrari, so we do have other drivers in the Ferrari. Of course, we were on board with Edu, weren't we? As he's lost a little time through the middle, he's only 6.8 now. So on this basis, he should slot in somewhere, but oh god, that doesn't look nice. He should slip in somewhere between Jamie and Paul at this rate, but I'm sure all of this sliding around isn't helping him. Again, the car, that looks like it's going to need a lot of work on it before he can get at a comfortable level. But we'll see what he does as he crosses the line. He progressively lost time through the lap, and it looks like he's going for another one. But finally, Seeks and Sergeant Bassett have left the pits. Seeks another one on qualifying fuel, so of course you'll be looking at Jamie and Edu as targets. Not if he does that.
I can say that was ambitious. Down there.
Jamie has just left the pits, but Edu is on another lap.
I get a lot of speed down the straight.
Corner. As he's down again, Seeks, who's starting a lap. Starting a proper lap based on what he previously done. As he takes the unconventional line. But also started to do the S's weird. As opposed to braking, he left it off a lot, which is not how most people do it, but he's carrying on with this lap, so he doesn't feel like he's gained too much. Bassett, he'll just be crossing the line to start his first lap. But we'll stick with Seeks for now, see what he can do in his proper first time lap, and then we'll see what Adam Arms can do. .6 up, that should put him... It'll be close to Jamie if he can keep gaining a couple more tenths in the last sector. As compared to some of the drivers we've seen just join, his car looks far more planted than anyone else's. Jamie and Paul look like they're having a lot of understeer issues, and Edu looks like he's just got no balance in the car. Edu left, so that will put all the drivers off as it causes the game to lag ever so slightly. But Seeks will be close to Jamie, 2 tenths off of him. I'll see what Sergeant Bassett will be capable of doing. A little bit of off-brake oversteer, but nothing too bad. As it's clean, but cautious, you would say.
Oh, yeah.
So, hopefully, some of the drivers in the top 4 will start to take their fuel out and go for quali runs, as Adam Mars goes 8 seconds off. He'll definitely be looking to improve that. Seeks is giving up on that lap. Nathan and Ben are both on the race fuel. Seeks claims he's always been the lead driver because he's always on his own. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if a lot of people had the offer to be your teammate, Jonathan, they would say no, but... You get the feeling, since Nathan's had his 1.5 second improvement, he's probably gone back into those garages and begged Ben for a setup. It's a lot of opposite lock through these S's for Nathan. Yeah, then he's quite quickly realised that's not how you do it. Ben, I'm not sure if he's on a lap or if he's on an out lap, but he has Adam Marks behind him, so either way we'll get to see what time Adam does. Ben crosses the line, that was his out lap. Adam Marks crosses the line, 2 seconds down. Paul's out now, he's on low fuel. See how much he can find. Of course, it's got to be 2.4 seconds to get towards the next car, which will be a bit of an ask, but I'm sure if he's chipped away at the setup, that can be done. And we've had another driver join now, Papano. He was another one of the drivers who was most improved throughout Season 7. He started going towards another top of the midfield runner after joining us and initially struggling as he made his debut in Bathurst. I believe he was lapped. But now he's turned himself into a strong contender for good hauls of points every race. I'm sure he'll be looking to make the most of a full season now. I believe he will still be in the M set. I believe that's what he signed up in, because that's what he raced last season.
Yeah, I believe it's a livery, isn't it?
I thought that was Sebastian.
Oh, was it?
I think it was Sebastian who had your livery, but I believe I've heard he's not going to be competing. I think Papano is probably going to be running the livery he was in last season. We will check that when he's out on track, but of course he and me got mixed up a lot. I got shouted at a lot for doing things that weren't my fault just because someone saw a white M6. And I was like, what am I getting shouted at for? I'm in the pits. As he joins there as it starts to lag. As Paul's found half a tenth from dropping the fuel out. If he can find another 2 seconds on top of that, he'll get towards Seeks, but I'm sure Jamie's doing all he can to try and help him. Of course, as it sets, Jamie is in the position that will probably be best of the rest this season, as Snakes Unite Racing and Falcon Fast GT, as the combination of Ben and Nathan are now known, is probably going to be the two teams to catch throughout the season. Paul finds a lot in the last sector, found 1.2 seconds in the last sector alone. So at least we know where he was struggling. Seeks is going to come across the line on a very slow lap, presumably an out lap, but see if he does this lap. He again is on quali fuel. So the top four are probably feeling quite happy about themselves, having a 2 seconds to 1.5 second cushion over the rest of the field, considering they're all on race fuel. As Siegs loses it through the S's.
Sure, that's how you envisioned it.
Styles it out though with a nice 360, I'll give that an 8.
Yeah, the top four are probably sitting there now having a nice big key cup of tea.
Yep, Benji has just come back out on the track, but we haven't seen either of the Snake Night drivers come out for a while before that. So they were clearly quite happy with the work they'd done, as, yep, Pano, there he is, running the livery he was in last season, the number 18.
No assist?
No, he has absolutely none on, not even the ABS. Of course, something else he has turned off was his rear view, as he just turns it on. Yeah, had no rear view mirror on for a lot of last season, and that seemed to stir up a lot of the drivers, as during endurance races when he was getting lapped it became quite difficult because he didn't even realise you were there, but I'm sure someone's probably had a word and sort of suggested it's a good idea. But he again is on low fuel, so he'll be looking to go round that Jamie Seeks Paul area.
I reckon this would be a good track for the MCs.
Yeah, it was a good one last season, but of course that was several updates ago. I was able to stick it on the podium with about 45 minutes of running in it. So I'm sure if someone had a lot more time they could probably have done better than what I did. Well, of course things changed, like when we went to Spa in Season 7 it was not as good as it was in Season 6.
No. Not with your dodgy setups anyway.
My dodgy setup that was good in Season 6, but did not transfer over with all the updates.
Should be pretty good in this first sector though.
Yeah, it will be very good over the curbs, and a lot of people believe the M6 is a very quick car in the straights, but it's not slow, but I wouldn't say it's quick. So it should be able to at least hold its own down that back straight, and then the last sector it might suffer a little compared to the rest. Yeah, it lights the tyres up through there. Keeps it in second for that corner.
So what was the benchmark for speed? 150 up,
161 we saw from the Porsche. He gets to 159. Of course we don't know what aero everyone's relatively running, but like we say, it's a pretty in the middle car for straight line speed. I'm sure around here you'd want to be running relatively low downforce. As he lights up again and completely loses it. The good old flick spin to get it back round. I'm sure that won't have done his tyres any good though. Oh, yep, it's definitely not done his tyres any good as he hits the wall about 10 seconds later and he cannot keep it in a straight line. So where's Seeks? He's coming up towards the line. 2.8 off. And where's Jamie? He was just cruising, so Sergeant Bassett has cut almost 2 seconds off his time to be 6 down. Let's see what Seeks can do now. You feel like there's a little bit more left in him watching his previous laps.
Okay.
As he loses it through the S's again. So someone we've not watched in a while, Ben. He was on an out lap as he comes to turn 1 with Benji exiting the pits right behind him. So we're having a bit of lull in track action just now, with just 3 of the 9 cars out on track. But it looks like we have more rolling down the pit lane now.
Kind of looks like he's more aggressive on that section.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, it looked like he was lifting off into the corners rather than braking, so he's probably carrying too much again. As Ben's quite a bit down in the first sector. Adam seems happiest with his work out of everyone, as we've not seen him come out of the pits for a long time, as all the drivers seem to be coming back out now, with Benji, Nathan and Seeks all coming back out of the pits, with Papano also returning to the track. So we've got a bit of a train here, with Nathan, Seeks and Papano, as Papano just decides he doesn't want to do those corners. Bassett's again cut another couple tenths off, he's down to 5.7 down. So he can keep at a steady rate, he can hopefully chip away and get towards Paul, Seeks and Jamie. Of course, being in the Ferrari, I'm sure someone said, could he get help from the other Ferrari drivers?
What fuel was Benji on?
Benji, he has come out on race fuel, so we'll check on everyone. Race fuel, race fuel, race fuel. Seeks is still on quality fuel. Bassett is on, I think he's been pounding around for a while on what was race fuel, but he's cut nearly another second off there, so he's getting there. He's closing in towards Paul. If he can keep at this steady rate, he should be okay. As we go to Nathan in what I unfortunately think is probably the best looking car on the grid, the Porsches, and also in one of my favourite famous liveries of all time, the Falcon livery.
Shame it doesn't sound that nice.
No, not the... Well, I don't think it sounds terrible, but I am also someone who thinks the GTR sounds nice. And it's quite a hated car for its sound, but... out of who we have in this session, who would you say has the nicest looking car?
Nicest looking car? I do like the M6.
Of Papano.
Yeah, if you're going with liveries, I actually like Seeks' livery, to be honest.
Seeks with his very vibrant green and black, the Thrustmaster livery.
Yeah, I like Seeks and Adam's livery, they're probably my favourites really.
Adam Morris or Adam Marks?
Morris.
He has changed, I believe, yeah, he's changed into his white, blue and red car. I believe he left mid-session and changed into that. If he had stayed in his red and black car, yeah, I would have been inclined to agree with you.
I do like the Porsche one, but...
Yeah, of course, the Falcon livery was one I considered for the M6 last season, but stuck with my number 44 sort of, I don't even know what you'd call it, paint splatter type one. Looks like it's got a motherboard all over it. As we will cut to Seeks as Nathan pits, as he was about half a second up in the first sector. We haven't seen what he was through the middle. But he's on a good lap, and he will hopefully take the best of the rest off of Jamie for now. compared to everyone else around him, he seems to have one of the most balanced cars out of anyone in the bottom 5. He hesitates on the throttle a bit out of the second last corner, but it's a good run out, and he'll run up to the line, and we'll see where he goes with this one. He lost time, but he'll have another go and see where it puts him. Whereas Papano's going down the back straight, and we'll see what he can do. It's 10.6 seconds off. I'm sure he can do better than that. As he gets to 157 before braking. Let's see if he can go through the hairpin left without spinning, as he's on a time at the moment to put him around Seeks and Jamie. We'll see if he has more to find in the last. Of course, Jamie, Seeks, Paul and Papano are all doing times on low fuel, whereas the top 4 and Sergeant Bassett are all doing theirs on high fuel. So he was on to go into 7th. Will he find more time in the last sector? As he short shifted really early. Yeah, and he goes best of the rest, going almost a 10th ahead of Jamie. I'm sure Seeks will try and have something to say about that.
What's that?
So he makes his own second to last corner there. So I'm sure that'll be strongly monitored by the drivers when we race here. So he doesn't improve. But both the Porsches are back out as Ben gets out the way of someone. Nathan's going down the back straight at what look like outlaps. But Papano's going for it again, so we'll see if he can find any more times. He's just one corner away from the second sector line, so we'll get his live split. He is 3/10 up, so he could leave Jamie and Seeks behind him here. As he lights the wheels up again out of there, but keeps it in a straight line. Of course, this corner will be not as fun as it is in the rest of the cars for the M6. But all the other corners in the last sector shouldn't be too bad. They should all be fairly nice to it. So it's looked a scruffy last sector, but we'll see if it's any good. So he had about 3/10 in his pocket, but how many will he have going over the line? 6/10. He's really left Jamie and Seeks behind with that one. And yeah, he's put himself in a bit of a no man's land between the top 4 and the rest of the grid. Of course, I believe Jamie, Seeks and Paul are all still out on quali fuel. So hopefully with more drivers being added in a almost full grid, we should get a very good midfield battle, if anything, behind this top 4. As I'm not sure what's going on here. Who is that beside him? That's Jamie. It looks like they're going to start having a battle. As Jamie's 38 seconds down. They're getting their practice in for rounds 3 and 4. as Seeks loses it. He's held it, actually. Looked like for certain he was going round there. So they're ducking and diving every which way down to the break into the hairpin. As Jamie's forced a little bit off track there by Seeks, but he's still alongside him. But it's going to be hard for him to complete a move on the outside unless he can pull completely clear by the time they get to break. But it looks like Seeks is actually coming back at him. We're supposed to be commentating on practicing, not actual racing. But it gives us a bit more excitement rather than watching them just circulate. As Papano, while we were watching all this, is actually gone ahead of Nathan.
Wow.
He's 200ths ahead of Nathan. I'm sure once Nathan drops the fuel, he could probably fix that, but that is an impressive effort there from Papano. As again, there's more ducking around. So Jamie's going to try and get the switch back onto Seeks, but it's hard to keep it around the outside of this corner unless you have a lot more momentum. But he's just got his nose there. Is he going to... No, he's conceded that one. Oh! It looked like they were destined to crash there. Seeks realises he wasn't going to make that corner, so just made his own instead. As Jamie goes into the back of Seeks there. Sergeant Bassett, after initially finding his gains in time to go 4.8 behind, hasn't really found any more as the session has progressed, but he's still got another 55 minutes to try and do it all in. Door-to-door collision. Seeks again, still just has the inside. Jamie's run out a bit wide there, and Seeks will hold that one. As at this point in the track, we only have the bottom four out. Sergeant Bassett will be happy with the improvements he's made, and Paul will probably not be happy considering he's got almost a second to make up on the cars in front. Again, that outside line probably isn't going to work for Jamie. And he's completely lost it. So, does Nathan have anything in response to Papano? We'll check what fuel everyone's on. The Porsches are actually out together. And the usual lot are all still on the same fuel. It looks like Nathan and Ben are on out laps. as is Benji from the looks of things. We didn't get a timing split. Paul, however, I'm pretty sure is on a lap. Actually, I don't think so. Thought he'd been out for longer than he actually was. So now he's actually going to start a lap, and we'll see if he can make any inroads towards Jamie and Seeks, as they will be his prime targets right now. Seeks probably knows he can make time up too, as he had a lot in his pocket earlier, but blew it towards the back end of the lap. Not the cleanest way to do the S's there, but we'll let it go. Oh, it's very scruffy, but he's got 3/10. Downshift, Paul, downshift! You can just hear the car struggling to do that all in third. Probably needed second.
This is his first time here though, so...
Of course, he wouldn't have been here for season 6. He joined at Fuji, did he not? Or the round after Fuji?
About it, yeah.
Yeah, I believe he was the round after Fuji, because Paul initially, when he first started floating around the league and tried to join, he was actually a little bit too far off the pace, but like we said earlier, he got that 4th at Brands Hatch, and he's certainly proved himself to be a strong midfield runner. Even outperforming his teammate Jamie in some of the rounds last season, who of course has been around since season 3 or 4, I cannot remember. As it's 4/10 seems to be perhaps thrown away, because he's had a bit of a terrible start to the last sector, but see if he can claw it all back. He'll certainly find some time doing that. Seven tenths. So he is just gone ahead of Jonathan. So that 3 from 5th to 7th are incredibly close. Nathan will now be on a lap, so we'll see if he has any sort of response to Papana. But of course Papana was on low fuel, so fuel corrected he would be behind Nathan, but by how much we do not know. Nathan does a 2-minute 5.4 to jump all the way to the top of the table and beat Adam's original time before he left.
Well, that's a take a seat, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a mark of intent. But of course, we don't know how hard Benji and Adam were pushing. But even still, we're still almost a second off of the pace from season 6, which is quite astonishing. Although Nathan's time there still would have put him 3rd on the grid, a 10th ahead of me. Let's see if Benji has anything to try and put Nathan back in his place. No, he's half a second down. So it's very unlikely as he aborts that one. Panos taking some new lines. Seeks, he's on a lap from the looks of things. So of course he'll not be happy that Paul has now gone ahead of him. Of course Jamie seems to have found more time as well, because he's now 8 tenths ahead of Seeks. So with that lap Seeks was on earlier on, he would have been a couple of tenths ahead of Paul, but what are you suggesting, people?
No, I thought Adam might forward, you know.
Okay, well See if we can get one of the drivers in to try and talk to us, because Gaz thinks it would be a good idea. See if we can interview one of the drivers as they're going round the track. Or see what he can give us on how the car and track and everything feels. And cautious last corner there from Seeks as one of the Porsches comes out the pits alongside him.
I think he held second and he's still losing tires.
He found 3/10 though. So he moved ahead of Paul, but he's still got 4 and a bit tenths to make up to Jamie. Of course, they've all got a lot of time to make up to Papano, who is the highest driver on low fuel. We'll see if any of these top guys have taken their fuel out, and no, they have not. Still, Sergeant Bassett is now on really low fuel. We'll see if he can find a touch more time. So it was an encouraging start to the session for him. He kept chipping and chipping and chipping away at the time until he eventually got to 4.8 seconds off. But he seems to have hit a bit of a wall since then and hasn't been able to improve. So it looks like he's on a lap right now, so we'll see, does he improve at all? Knowing my luck, he's actually not on a lap, and this will come up saying like plus 10. Yep, of course he wasn't on a lap. Pano, he has quali fuel. As does Jamie, who is... Well, Adam's out in the Bentley. So I'm not sure why he's in the Bentley. Although it's a bit of a horrible livery.
Hey.
I feel like he's trying to do what I did the other day and just see what the fastest possible time you can do is. As he has Jamie right behind him. And then Sergeant Bassett behind them. Let's see what Sergeant Bassett is through the middle sector. He's 3/10 down despite being on low fuel now. Jamie is probably on an outlap. It's quite hard to tell with all this. It would be nice to know who is and isn't on outlaps. I have two suspicions here. Either Adam's just going to try and see how fast he can physically set a lap, or he's helping Edu. Or he's just trying the Bentley. Of course, he drove that in Season 2 as well, didn't he? He became part of the Bentley crew. A car that after the car changes opened up in Season 2, a lot of people went to. Of course, it was a Mercedes SLS that won that championship for the second season in a row. Then of course it was won the next 3 seasons by a BMW. And then an Audi and another BMW, so at the moment BMW have 4 of the championships, with Audi 1 and Mercedes 2. As Sergeant Bassett and Adam are... Well, he's ghosted, I'm not sure why. As Adam takes a interesting technique through that corner. Well, Bassett is 6/10 up, so in fact I'm guessing if he's ghosted, these two can't see each other.
Yeah, it's probably the joint, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, the cars are like inside each other, so clearly they cannot see each other on the track, as I'm sure that would probably be very distracting to the pair of them. And you get the feeling, the fact that Sergeant Bassett is sticking with Adam, Adam's not going to set a really great time.
Looks like he's under control though, almost.
Yeah, he looks very...
Twitchy.
But he finds 1.1 seconds and goes, again, 1.1 seconds off of Paul as
Where's Adam gone?
Adam's decided he's going to go to the next state, whichever that one is. I don't really know in my American geography. Jamie's found more time again. He's 1.1 off now. So it seems like the midfield that we thought was getting really close seems to be spreading itself out. With Papano having a gap over Jamie, and then Jamie having a gap over Seeks, and you assume Seeks has a couple more tenths and probably has a gap over Paul. Of course, if we have invited Adam to talk to us, he probably doesn't want to because of the party name. Oh, is Sergeant Bassett's recovering his car there, recovering it right in front of Seeks. So we're about an hour 50 into this, about 40 minutes to go with this session. Looking at all these times, who do you suggest would be happiest by now?
Scooby. Definitely.
I feel like Adam and Benji probably are holding a little bit back, but I feel like Scooby has probably surprised himself.
I don't think it's going to be that much.
It will certainly be interesting to see when we come back to Kota in 2 weeks' time, how these times will compare up to the actual pole position times as Seeks finds another 3.5 tenths. So like I said, he had more time in him and he's pulled that gap to Paul and he's spun it. He's gotten a bit keen and done a celebratory donut as Bassett goes around his outside there. So we'll switch back to Ben, who is following Nathan. Of course, when they were together originally in the Porsche, Nathan was the one getting the better results out of it.
Ben's suggested about using track selection.
I've been switching between them. I felt like I would switch the cameras up, but if Ben doesn't like that, I will stay with trackside.
Probably trackside is it sometimes. It doesn't seem to pick up right, does it? In some cars.
With Ben doing the normal rules, as soon as you're about to start flying laps, you turn your lights on to indicate to other drivers that you are on a lap. Doesn't work sometimes, you will do that and drivers will still get in your way, but... So, how many laps has every driver done? A lot, based on the top 3. The with Benji having done the most at 30, and Ben and Nathan 25 and 26. Pano will be happy with his time, having only done 10, and of course Adam left mid-session, so he will have done a lot more than 2. He's probably in around the area of the top 3, but Jamie, Seeks and Paul are then the next most with 18, 17 and 16, with Sergeant Bassett having done 14. Of course, Bassett is doing long, consistent runs, whereas Jamie, Seeks and Paul are in and out doing constant low fuel runs. So now, having gone from Nathan struggling, Ben will be wondering where those 4 tenths are.
Guess he shouldn't have had that full English breakfast this morning. That's where it all is.
I'm sure that's probably what Ben has. Well, he's got 1.5 of them through this middle sector. A little bit more time and he'll put himself into play around Benji. Will they keep that 1.5 tenths over the line? Will they have gained? Will they have lost? No, just 1 tenth. To put him 900ths behind Benji. As he now loses it, we've seen a lot of drivers lose it through those S's. So Jamie sent an advertising board flying. Benji is still on his race fuel, so unless they leave it late, it looks like we're not going to see any of the top drivers do any sort of quali runs. So it seems like they're all happy sticking to their high fuel. Will Benji pull another little gap to Ben, or will it stay at the 900ths of a second? He's on an outlap, of course.
Be nice if the app worked, wouldn't it really?
Yeah, it would be handy, and also if it told us they were on an outlap. Because even if I bring up the timing screen, it doesn't tell me if they're on sectors or not, as Benji's getting sideways through the S's but doesn't spin it. But he's only 900ths off of his best time, so he's in contention to try and improve this lap. As it sounds like one of the Porsches is going down the straight, as we could hear that distinctive engine tone. As there is one of the Ferraris, I believe that is Jamie behind him on the straight. But has he gained any more time in this middle? No, he's lost nearly 3 tenths, so this lap looks like it's not going to be any sort of improvement, but we'll see if Paul's on a lap or not as he comes up towards the last corner. Nope, of course he was an outlap, and there's Seeks coming out of the pits. Jamie's just returned to them. Of course Benji would have had a lot to make up. Now he's lost another 10th and a bit in the last, and feels it's necessary to return to the pits. So your session leader Nathan is back out on track, looking again like he's sliding through the S's. Of course, as he goes under the Falcon board, I'm sure that will get a photo taken at some point. Was he through the middle? He's only a 10th down, so there is chance for him to improve. And he's not gonna with that having happened, so that lap will not be an improvement. Paul Scott's about to cross the line. Does he improve? Nope. Yet that mistake cost him half a second. And who is it that's in the last sector? It is Papano, who is, I believe, on an outlap. Where is Seeks? I believe this is the start of a lap for him, as we saw him coming out of the pits. He's kept it in a straight line. Almost not. His car looks very stable, but just not through the S's. Everywhere else, it looks great. But there's only a 10th down. So there's definitely time for him to be found in that first sector, if a sector like that is only a 10th off. There's more power sliding onto the back straight, with Nathan behind him. Will he have found any more through the middle sector? Yes, half a 10th. Of course, the middle sector, only a couple of corners and a long straight, but it's very, very easy to lose a lot of time in it. One small mistake through that hairpin, and you're 1 or 2 miles an hour down the entire way down the straight. Because once he gets on the throttle mid-corner through there, he's staying on it, which is always a good sign. Oh, and a big slide out of the last corner for him. Oh, 200th down. There is definite improvements in there for Seeks. We'll see if he can do it on this lap. Again, he does it differently from all the other drivers by lifting through the S's, not braking. This one's 4 tenths down, so he's definitely not gonna make any inroads this time. Paul getting very waywards out of the final corner. And it's an outlap. We'll see if Ben's probably on an outlap too. But we can watch what he does on the next lap and we'll see, does he break through the S's, as I'm pretty sure that's what most of the drivers will be doing. As you can see, onto the brakes, and another dab of the brakes for the left. Clearly it doesn't work, because Ben has spun. A lot of drivers spinning through those S's today. We'll go with Papano, as we know he's on a lap. As Ben seems to be doing some interesting things. But we'll switch back to Papano, one of two drivers on track. I was about to say if we exclude Ben, but he's returned to the pits anyway. But we do have drivers coming back out onto the track. Paul is one of them. Who's going to be the next one? It's Paul and Adam Marks. Papano really likes lighting up the rear. He did say to us once that he sets the car up so that he's sliding through the corners, which we found quite strange, but it seems to work for him. And he always had a big issue trying to set the car to work with the softs. But of course the softs are pretty much what you always want, so he will have had to make that adaptation work. Seven and a half tenths off, as there is one of the Porsches, Ben, signaling to flash his lights coming out of the pits. Benji is on an actual lap this time. We keep catching everyone on their out laps. Of course, Benji running the livery that Will Stevens used, something he should be very proud of. That car alone is like an extra 0.2 of a second. Will he get 0.2 of a second? Nope, 4.5 down. And he's backed out of this lap. So who is on laps? Seeks, Paul and Sergeant Bassett? I don't believe so. Ben either, but I believe Paul is coming up to the line to start a lap as we have someone else rolling out of the pits. Will that be? No one apparently, although Nathan is now rolling down the pit lane himself. So 24 minutes ago, will we see any of the top three, excluding Adam now, drop their fuel at all? We've seen them run around all session with 60, 70 litres on, but no one with 10, 15, 20. And still no one is, as Ben and Nathan are on the race fuel still. Clearly no one wants to just stick a fast lap in on the board and try and force everyone else's hand to also drop their fuel. Ben's on a good first sector, he's only a 10th down. So he hasn't done a very good middle sector, cannot carry any of his momentum from the first.
I'm back.
Well, as Ben stays the half a second down. So we've had a bit of a lull in terms of lap times dropping. Nothing's really changed for a while. Although saying that, I think Paul has improved recently. I think. Oh no, I don't think he has actually. I believe he was on his 2.7.4 for a while now. He was on 2.1 a bit ago. Well, Ben's definitely not going to improve. What about Nathan? Car number 44. Maybe this lap will be hashtag blessed. And be even faster than his 2:05 5.4 that he's already set. Which is the fastest lap of the entire session. And he's close to it, only 400ths down. So many times though we've seen him matching through the first, through the middle, and lose it all in the last. Will this lap be different? Let's see, will it be a match or an improvement? No, he lost half a tenth in the last, but he is being very, very close to his fastest time, which at least shows consistency. Along with all the other spins he's had, but we'll disregard some of those. Oh, it was his 6/10 off this time. We seem to see the tyres fading towards the second lap of our run. Don't know whether they are, but that just seems to be the trend from watching some of the drivers. They don't seem to hang on very well for the second lap. Now, Sergeant Bassett has actually made a very good improvement there. He's now... Oh, as Benji's made improvement as well to go 700ths off of Nathan. But Sergeant Bassett, who is here, admittedly on quali fuel, but that's also what the guys in front of him were on, has gone to only half a second behind Paul. So that's a good improvement from him. Considering he started this session 8 seconds off, he's managed to find 5.6 over the span of this 2.5 hour session, which we only have 18 minutes left of. Adam, since his quick skirmish out there in the Bentley hasn't returned. Edu, who we saw early in the session, hasn't returned. Maybe we'll see him not in the Bentley when we start in a week's time at Watkins Glen. The panel's just cruising. Nathan's gonna finish his lap. We'll see if he starts another. Yeah, 1.6 down. Let's see if he goes for it again. Is the third lap gonna be any better? See what he is coming over this split line. Half a second down. Nope. After the first lap, the tyres seem to go. So Ben's coming on to his first lap of the session. We'll see what he can do with all of this. Fresh set of tyres, and having seen Benji recently make an improvement, he's falling even further behind, so he's going to have to make one himself. So again, a bit. We're seeing a lot of sliding through the S's from the drivers, and that's enough to force Ben to abandon that lap and try a burnout. And, that's that run over for him. Who is out there? Seeks, I think, is on an out lap. Jamie has finally switched to the high fuel. So we'll see what he can do relative to the top four. Of course, mid to high 2-minute 5s seem to be the target time. What was Jamie's last lap? Apparently it was a 1:35.3. Something tells me that's not true. But we'll see what this lap time is. Of course, this is now, as we say, fuel corrected to the front lot. He has a little bit of slipstream from Adam Marks there, and that must have... Unless he's gone out with 50 litres, but... So not quite as much as the front lot, but more than he was running with earlier. Of course, the front lot will be running with anything from 65 onwards, depending on how much fuel your car uses. People like Papano in the M6, they will have to use a lot more fuel than some of the other drivers. Is Jamie, again, another casualty to those S's. Nathan probably comes through and thinks, I feel your pain. I've done that plenty of times. So again, we're short on drivers on track, with Nathan losing it in a place we haven't seen yet this session, but Ben and Seeks have just rolled out the pits. So that leaves Papano, I believe, to be the only one on a lap, unless he has just come out, but he was out a minute ago. So, what is he? He's half a tenth up in the first, so he's definitely on a lap, and it's a good one so far. But he gets a bit of a slide through the uphill left, they almost puts it in the wall. That's surely bound to have lost him time, but he could make it up in other places. This straight feels like it takes an eternity when you're on it, but I'm sure watching it, it doesn't feel that long. As he gets to... I think he just ticked over to 159 there. Be interesting to see what the Bentley could probably do in that straight, and yeah, Pano's mistakes have cost him big, as he's now 5.5 tenths down, and there's more sliding. I'll be surprised when we come here, if he doesn't fix this, that he won't spin out in the race. As he actually does spin out. We saw him spin out of that very corner not that long ago, and that must be his tyres ruined. As he has Seeks coming towards him. So, yeah, and he returns to the pits. I was going to say best of hope to get that out of the way. Of course, I believe most of these drivers are on outlaps, as Jamie has found what appears to be a playmate. Who is it? It is Benji. Or is this all probably being orchestrated? 15 minutes to go. They're probably all a bit bored and just decide, let's have a race. That's nothing unusual for our drivers in a practice session, but they won't have much of a race if Jamie doesn't keep it on the track. But it seems as if they might not actually be racing, as Benji has let Jamie go. So, who is on a lap? Ben, it looks like it's just started one. Oh, is that Seeks in the wall in the same place at the S's? Looks to be the last left of the S's, seems to be the Wayne one catching everyone out. Ben's a 10.5 down. So where Seeks was off, that seems to be where we've seen most backwards. The last part of the S's, I think we've seen almost everyone in this session round there. So are there any improvements from Ben at this point? Because no one seems to be making any. But he could, 800ths down, but he mounts the curb a bit hard through that right. Of course that section is very tricky because you have to be sort of off apex for a couple of the lines to make sure you've got the best line for the very, very tight hairpin left. One of the main overtaking points on the track, that would be. End of the straight, turn 1 and that little hairpin left will be the main action zones, you would imagine. Certainly was back here in Season 6. But I imagine he's probably lost more time in that last sector. It looked very scruffy. Yeah, he's lost another 10.5. What about Benji? I'm not sure whether he's been going around for ages or he's just come out with slightly lower fuel. So if Adam stayed in here, he would have been third behind Nathan and Benji, but just ahead of Ben. Benji's taking a little bit of his fuel out, it seems, because I don't think he's been going around for that long.
Pop's stability control on, is he not?
Yeah, he has stability control on at the moment.
I think Ben's popped it on as well, is he not?
Yeah, Ben has it on. Nathan does not. What about Papano? He is, again, just running with the ABS. Of course, he'll be happy. Jamie's gone up into 4th.
My days.
He's somehow gone 800ths ahead of Papano. So he's clearly found something in the setup that I'm sure Paul's going gimme.
Yeah, it's all engine mode, mate.
Yet Jamie has turned on party mode. As what is Paul's race pace like? I'm sure it's probably better than 7.3 seconds off. As these first corners are a bit of chaos in sprint races. There was a big crash there in Season 6. And Paul, unlike everyone else, seems to keep it on the track through the last part of the S's. He's 5/10ths down. But he's taking a very wide line out of the corner onto the straight. So at the moment it's just the top and the bottom who aren't out on track. Adam, who's sort of mucking about, and Nathan, who's probably happy with his day's work. There's probably more practice than they put in all of Season 7. Because Benji's now gone quicker. He's gone a tenth quicker, but he is on ever so slightly lower fuel.
Probably about 20 litres down, just under.
Yeah, he went out the pits with 47 litres, so yeah, he was about 20 litres down on what time was set with. So he'll have found a little bit of time in the fuel drop. So we'll go back to Paul and see what he's like on his race fuel. So we add 2 seconds to whatever he is down and we get his race time. As that's some line through the last corner. Maybe a bit too ambitious with the entry speed. As that lap was only 3/10 off his best, so that would be 2.3 off Benji's race pace. Which is not that bad to only lose 3/10 from quali to race fuel. But then the flip side of that is you only gain 3/10 from race to quali fuel.
No, it'd soon be a big gap if that was the case in the race. .3 off.
Yep, fuel corrected, the gap is about 2.3 seconds. As he almost loses it through there. Ben's now dropped the fuel, so we'll see what he's going to do. Power slide is the answer. .2 off, so that was his out lap. This is the flying lap, so we'll see what he can do on proper qualifying fuel and an aggressive lap. Aggressive use of track limits is the answer at turn 1. So he can't... Oh, almost not, but he did keep it on the track this time through the S's. That seems to be the Achilles heel of most of the drivers, but in particular the Porsche. He's 300th down. They can't beat his race pace first sector, but what about the last two? Again, like with Nathan, under the Falcon logo. A good exit onto the straight is crucial. You don't want to be carrying 1 or 2 mile an hour less than normal. So it sounds like he was going past Papano on the other bit of track, that sounded like an M6. I see he's 800s up. I'd be hoping to pick up more than that in the last sector. Especially considering Benji's lap was on almost 40 or 30 litres more than this. As he has Papano off the track in front of him. No, he has abandoned that one. Clearly either feels he wanted to hide it or that Papano hindered his lap.
Scooby gone out.
Oh, Scooby is also out in the low fuel, so the Porsches are trying to bring it to Benji. Of course, this looks like Nathan's out lap, but we'll stick with him to get ready for the next lap. Benji's probably happy enough having done his on 37 litres. So he's relative to the rest. He knows he has already a bit in hand with the fuel weight. He's 10 minutes 58 down through the middle sector. That's what wins your races.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure there's probably been times you thought you could spare 10 minutes 58 and probably still win.
Socialise maybe?
That's about a lap. I felt like I could have done that at MLS Season 2. Stop, have a little tea break, race the car again, and off we go.
Yeah, we will have this tire glitch.
Ah, mine were blue as well. You say this. But, Nathan... Oh, here's for red. I'm sure that was great fun, as Nathan has clawed back 10 minutes 50 seconds in the last sector, apparently. So can he make a better job of his quali run than Ben did? Whether Ben wasn't happy with it or he felt Bano hindered it, he gave up on it. Will Nathan give up on his? He keeps it cleaner through that section than Ben did. Of course, he only needs a 10th improvement to get back the top spot, but he'll want more than a 10th, considering Benji had more fuel, but he's already got a 600 deficit through the first part. And he's only going to get one lap in after this one, so the pressure is kind of on him.
Strange location on the fuel tank, is it not in the Porsche? At the front, isn't it?
It might be. I don't know whether that's implicated in the game or not, but surprisingly for a rear-engined car, it doesn't understeer as much as all the other mid or rear-engined cars. But of course, if the fuel tank is in the front and the game does incorporate it, that could put some weight back over the front, as he's now got almost 2 tenths through the middle. What can he make up in the last?
Oh. Well,
And he's, like Ben, made a mess of it, but now we can see Ben, who's 2 tenths up and 2 centimetres cutting the corner. Benji's back out in his 47 litres, 2.5 tenths down. Jamie's just started a lap, as has Seeks. We'll see what Seeks can do. So these are going to be the last laps of the session. Jamie's going to be last across the line of anyone. The Porsches blew their chance. They were both set to jump ahead of Benji, but they made a mess of it, and Seeks goes very sideways through that bit of the S's I was talking about earlier. Well, he's 3 tenths down. It sounds like Seeks has lost it. He has. So that leaves us with Benji, who's 3.5 tenths down, but he is going to be one of 2 drivers to set actual laps. Of course, he's back out in his 47 litres, so in between sprint and feature race fuel, it's a very weird amount to go out on, but
sunbaking night. You're gonna give it away, are you?
well, he's not going to give anything away because he's made a mess of that corner. Seeks appears to have stopped on the track and just staying there. He needs the marshals to come recover his car and get him out of it. Where's Jamie when you need him? Here's Jamie, backwards, doing donuts. And there's Seeks. So that is the practice 2 of the TNGTC pre-season complete. It was Benji fastest with a 2-minute 5.3. Nathan was second before he left on a 2-minute 5.4 with Ben on a 2.5.8. As Seeks now decides the track is better backwards. Jamie was fastest of the midfield behind Papano. Papano with a 2-minute 5.9 and Jamie with a 2-minute 6.0. Seeks did a 2-minute 6.9 to be 1.5 seconds off. Paul Scott struggled but improved throughout the session to a 2 minute 7.4. Sergeant Bassett was the big improver of the session, going from 8 seconds behind to 2.4. And of course Adam, who left halfway through and decided to drive the Bentley. So that is all, and like I said, join us any week for the season opener at Watkins Glen. We'll see you all then.